Hey there, I'm Casey, and I'm a self-taught history enthusiast. I'm mostly interested in the point of time during the inception of the American Constitution. I want to know what went on during that time because its legacy still remains to this day. My knowledge comes from countless hours exploring documentaries, historical archives, Wikipedia, and even some help from AI. It's been an exciting journey, but there's so much more to learn. I invite all historians, history buffs, and knowledgeable viewers to share your insight and opinions in the comments down below. Remember, history is a collective story, and we're all a part of telling it. Now let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Inspired America, a podcast exploring the birth of our nation. Join us as we talk about dramatic events, courageous figures, and the pivotal moments that shaped the United States. Today's topic is going to be about political parties. We're going to talk about the birth of political parties. We've got Professor Steve back on the show, ladies and gentlemen. And you want to know what inspired me to talk about this? To be quite honest, I've noticed that people today don't have the slightest clue about what political parties truly are. So I thought we'd get into the history of political parties. I actually wrote an article about this quite a while ago. So we're going to go over that. And without further ado, let's begin. Okay, here we are. The title of the article reads, "The Birth of Political Parties in America, A Clash of Visions." In the pivotal years of the United States, as the ink was still drying on the Constitution, a present warning echoed through the words of the nation's first president, George Washington. He cautioned against the perils of political parties, recognizing their potential to sow discord, kindle animosity, and threaten the very foundations of the young nation. His fears, however, would prove present as the political factions soon emerged, shaping the course of American politics for generations to come. Washington's ominous prognostication. George Washington's apprehension about political parties were rooted in his concerns about their corrosive effects on American society and governance. He foresaw how these factions could agitate communities and unfounded jealousies and false alarms, turning the segments of the population against another. The perils of occasional riots and insurrections loomed large, fueled by the fiery passions igniting by the parties' rivalries. Moreover, Washington warned that political parties could open the door to foreign influence and corruption, infiltrating the government through the channels of partisan fervor. In essence, Washington's solemn admonition was that political parties, if left unchecked, could become a divisive force that not only weakened the unity of the nation, but also compromised the integrity of its institutions. Let's pause on that for a moment.
An astute observation, indeed. Your analysis of Washington's concerns regarding political parties is well articulated and demonstrates a commendable grasp of the subject matter. However, let us delve deeper into this, shall we? However, I would encourage you to consider the historical context more broadly. Washington's views were shaped by the political climate of his time, particularly the emerging divide between Federalists and Democratic Republicans. The bitter rivalry between Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, both members of Washington's cabinet, likely influenced his perspective significantly.
Okay, and thank you very much. And nice segue into the next segment, Professor Stevens. We're going to get right into the Federalist vision. The Federalist vision, a strong federal government. Despite Washington's warnings, the first two political parties emerged from within his own cabinet. a testament of the differing visions held by some of the nation's most influential figures, one of which, Alexander Hamilton, the visionary economist and statesman, emerged as the founder of the Federalist Party, if I can get that rolling off my tongue better. So the Federalist Party advocated for a strong federal government with broad powers, favoring a loose construction of the Constitution. Okay, the Democratic Republicans, as you'll hear later on, were strict at following the Constitution. The Federalists, just like it says here, favored a loose construction of the Constitution. In practical terms, this interpretation of the this meant interpreting the Constitution broadly, allowing the government to take action beyond what was explicitly written in the document. The Federalists famously invoked the necessary and proper clause in Article 1 of the Constitution to support their stance. Hamilton, in his defense of creating a Bank of the United States, argued that such an institution was necessary and proper to execute the federal government's duties effectively. Economically, the Federalists championed the growth of business and industry. They ardently supported protective tariffs, which effectively made foreign imports more expensive than American-made goods, safeguarding domestic industries. Okay, and the international stage, the Federalists learned towards alliance with Great Britain, aligning their policies with the interests of the wealthy elite. Their support found strongholds on the northern states where commercial interest thrived. Okay, let's pause on that for just a second.
Your focus on Alexander Hamilton and the Federalist Party is well placed. Hamilton was indeed a pivotal figure in early American politics, and your characterization of his economic vision is largely correct. However, I would encourage you to dig deeper into primary sources. Have you read Hamilton's report on manufactures or his opinion on the constitutionality of the bank? These documents provide crucial insights into his economic philosophy.
Okay, so now that we have a strong understanding of how the Federalist Party worked, let's get into the Democratic Republicans. Okay, so the Democratic Republicans, a strict construction and state-centric approach. On the opposing side of the political divide stood the Democratic Republican Party, led by none other than Thomas Jefferson, who had once served in Washington's cabinet. We also have James Madison, who emerged as another influential party leader. The Democratic Republicans held a starkly contrasting vision. They favored a strong state government over a robust national government. Okay, this emphasized the strict construction of the Constitution. In practical terms, they believed that the powers of the federal government should be limited to only what was explicitly stated in the Constitution. Their preference was for governance to occur at the local level, where state authorities could address concerns effectively. To this end, they advocated for state banks over national ones, promoting more of a decentralized financial system. In terms of international relations, the Democratic Republicans supported free trade with Europe and sought alliances with France, a nation that had been a crucial ally during the American Revolution. Okay, so let's pause on that one for a second.
Your explanation of the party's preference for strong state governments and strict constitutional interpretation is accurate. However, I'd like you to consider the implications of this stance. How did it manifest in specific policy debates? The controversy over the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798 would be an excellent case study.
As a matter of fact, it looks like I do have an article about the Alien and Sedition Act. Right here, the Alien and Sedition Act represents a significant chapter in American history, reflecting a period of political turmoil and government's response to the challenges faced by the young nation. Enacted during the presidency of John Adams, these laws had a profound impact on civil liberties, freedom of speech, and the balance of power between the federal government and individual states.
That's excellent, Casey. Just let me know and I'd be happy to review the Alien and Sedition Act article. There are many parallels to those events as we see similarities today.
Professor, and I certainly look forward to taking you up on that offer. Now, in conclusion to the history of the political parties, the emergence of the Federalist and the Democratic Republican parties, despite Washington's present warning, marked the beginning of a new era in American policies. These two factions, born from the diverse vision and nation's founders, would shape the course of early America's history in profound ways. The ideological divide between the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans set the stage for many of the political debates that would define the young republic. From the role and scope of the federal power to economic policy and foreign relations, their competing visions would influence decision-making at every level of government. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That's the history of political parties. For some of you, I know you still have some questions about political parties. I think we're going to stick around with this subject for upcoming videos for a little while longer until we can bring some clarity. Let me know if you want me to review the Alien and Sedition Act article as well. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.